Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at writing essay introductions. So down below here, I have the purpose, fairly obvious, but you need to grab the reader's attention first. So the same as a short story, you need to attract the reader's attention before you get started. Introduce your topic and introduce your thesis, so your main argument. You need to also make sure that you introduce your three main points. So, bad example of a thesis, teens should not have to wear uniforms. You have a clear opinion, clear point of view, but we don't know how you're going to argue. So the slightly better example, which I just cooked up quickly, is teenagers should not be forced to wear uniforms since this practice eliminates one means for students to express individuality, may cause problems for children from a less fortunate economic background, and makes it harder for parents to quickly identify their children during emergencies. So, there's your bad example of a thesis and slightly better example. Now, you need to be careful with this because you don't want to cram your thesis and your three main arguments into one sentence if your thesis is quite complex and each of your main arguments is complex. But you should note your thesis first and then lay out your three main points, your three lines of argumentation. Okay, that's all for your basic essay introduction. I'm going to just do some quick do's and don'ts of essays that do get screwed up a fair bit. So, we're going to look down here. So, use a hook at the start to attract the reader's interest. So, you need to get their attention quickly. It says, do not use a sentence such as, since the beginning of time, mankind has struggled to blah blah blah. Yeah, not good. So in the above example, we are talking about school uniforms. You can say, since the beginning of time, mankind has struggled to, I don't know, figure out what they should wear. That would be a horrible start to your essay. So don't start with since the beginning of time or whatever. Don't use huge generalities. Do use an unusual or controversial quote, statistic, or anecdote. If you can actually come up with some statistic or controversial quote or anecdote, then that's a way better way to start than to use something boring and generalized. Do not use more than a couple sentences to hook your reader. Now, 2 or 3 should be the maximum. Probably shouldn't go beyond that unless you absolutely need to, but you need to hook their attention quickly. Explain your thesis, your argument, and then just get going. Don't waste time, especially in essays where you have under 1,500, 2,000 words. You just don't have the time or the words to waste. Do use a rhetorical question to begin. So, my example here, have you ever thought about how wonderful school would be if cell phones were allowed and encouraged? The implication is in class. You may then choose to answer it. So if you started with this, your next sentence could be, well, it would probably be a complete nightmare. And that would make your opinion clear. This would show your topic. The second sentence would make your opinion obvious, and then you would write down your thesis and your three main lines of argumentation. So that would be fine. Do not choose an essay topic that is too broad to be dealt with in the time frame or word count given. So, an example. You don't start an essay saying how to fix the world's energy problems, and your maximum number of words is 750 words. That would be an absolutely ridiculous topic to choose for an essay of that size. So choose something that is not too broad. As well, don't choose anything that is too excuse me, that is too narrow either. You need to have enough to talk about in your essay, regardless of what the word count is. You need to pick something that fits. Do make your focus and opinion clear. noting the names of any literary titles if it's a literary essay. So if you're writing an essay about Hamlet, you should probably mention that you're writing an essay about Hamlet by William Shakespeare in the first couple sentences of your introduction. If you have this wonderful topic that expertly analyzes some portion of his character, but you never mention that you're studying Hamlet, then that would be a problem. If you always say the main character or he, yeah, not good. In the case of Hamlet, it's a little bit easier because the title is the same as the main character. But regardless, last but not least, do not begin with, in this essay I will prove, or the purpose of this paper is to, or in this paper I shall discuss blah blah blah. Don't start with any of those things. We talked a little bit about grammars before. Those are what you should be concentrating on. You should avoid I, typically in formal essays. So that's one reason why these are bad. Plus they're boring and they're just empty words. When you have a boxing fight, they don't walk up to the center of the ring and introduce themselves and say, these two fighters are now going to box to see who is the better boxer. You would be laughing because it's absolutely absurd that they would say that. So, those are your basic do's and don'ts. And that's all for now, and thanks for watching.